Hey guys, Sen here. About a year ago, my clanmates were arguing almost every single weekend over who got to attack in the clan capital because there was only 50 spots and a lot of us had alt accounts that we also wanted to play with. And the biggest offender of us all, you might have guessed it, was yours truly. At the time, I was playing with about 20 accounts every weekend. Most of them were Town Hall 6s that I rushed up just to play clan capital and nothing else. Like I literally logged on, did my hits, left the clan, overflowed on raid medals because I never used them, rinse and repeat, and 20 accounts wasn't even enough for me. I was making even more Town Hall 6s. It got so bad in my clan that I had to find a second clan where I could play some more alts at, but the problem was that new clan was also capping out at 50 attackers every weekend, and they also had to make a second clan to put some of their members to get their hits in the clan capital. It was so wild, so crazy. Man, clan capital was the wild west back then, but it was also the most fun I've ever had playing this game, but not anymore. These days, my clans are struggling to get even 30 attackers. My leaders are really trying to push people to play clan capital, and I'm right on the verge of quitting for good. But not just me. If you've looked at the top clans recently, almost all of them have changed their description in the global top 10 to protest the current state of clan capital, because man, it is rough right now. Actually, some of them have even straight up said no and left. I know the number one clan in the world, Alpha Warriors, in terms of global leaderboard ranking, since basically the launch of Clan Capital, they just straight up quit and they dropped out of the global leaderboard entirely. It's rough out here, and today we're going to be talking about a lot of problems that are plaguing the clan capital, starting with offender number one as we go over some replays. Man, this last raid weekend really just drove the nail in the coffin for me, showing how stupid the graveyard spell has made this game mode. Ah, yes, Graveyard. This last raid weekend, I landed some of the filthiest CP2 shots that I'll just be leaving in the background as I talk. I don't think they really need any commentary over them because you've seen them or done them a million times already. Supercell actually nerfed Graveyard twice actually already, but it's still by far the most dominant strategy in the clan capital, bar none. Some variant of Graveyard spell can and will work against every district and almost every layout you run up against, including Dragon Cliffs. There's that stupid Fortress Inferno Dragon spam that works over there. It's kind of ridiculous. Like, some top clans have changed their bases to where they put all of their buildings on one side and then all of their walls on the other, basically putting their walls away from civilization because it looks like a troll base, but it's solely to try to stop the rams and the graveyard skellies from eating them alive. And then they just die to graveyard and get two-shot after two-shot after two-shot by some graveyard hogs, graveyard wizard afterwards. It's so silly because there's nothing defenders can do. I'm trying to think of a comparison to the home village for those who are not too into clan capital, like maybe the bat spell back in the day when they released and broke the game, but then Supercell patched it in like a day. Graveyard is like if Supercell doubled the E-Dragon stats, every top player would be forced to use E-Dragon spam because there's nothing defenders can do to stop it, and there's no reason to use anything else except if you wanted to have fun failing with other stuff and making videos about it, I guess. But I'm about to splash you with the cold, hard truth. Santa Claus isn't real, and sometimes I fail attacks. I know. Crazy. If you've watched my videos, you would probably think I never fail, but it happens even to the best of us. When I failed before Graveyard ever existed, I'd go back to the replay, watch it, and try to figure out what I did wrong and where I could improve. But post-Graveyard, when I fail without Graveyard, I just shrug my shoulders and go, welp, should have used Graveyard. It just feels so bad, and all the top clans spam Graveyard because they have to do that to stay competitive. Probably at least 250 out of the 300 attacks they do every week are just graveyard spam. Actually, probably closer to 270 plus, and then those remaining 30 attacks are like default one-shot attempts, and that a lot of them involve graveyard as well, or attacking Dragon Cliffs with Inferno Dragons or Archers or something else. But at this point, I don't know what Supercell wants with Graveyard. They haven't touched it in months, and the meta is just completely stagnant at the very top levels of Clan Capital. At the lower levels, you don't even have Graveyard, so I imagine it's still kind of fun down there, but at the top, everyone is spamming it to death. And some people have countered that Graveyard doesn't work to two-shotting max bases, but really that's because max bases are insanely hard regardless of what you use, and Graveyard is still by far, from all the testing that I've done, the best strategy to try to take those things out as well. So yeah, there's just no reason to use anything other than Graveyard once you unlock it, and it's just become such a problem. And also no one's even facing maxed bases, and that brings me to my second point, which is matchmaking. So another complaint from the top clans or just any trophy pushing clans is the matchmaking. So it's kind of rough right now. How it works is that once your clan hits 1600 upgrades, every clan north of that gets thrown into the same matchmaking pool. So a clan at 1600 upgrades can in theory face one that's completely maxed at 3000 upgrades and vice versa. So 1600 to 3000 upgrades, that is a 2x difference basically. And for the top clans, this amount of randomness and variance, which is huge, can really hurt them on a week-to-week basis, because if you face a CH8 or a CH9 clan instead of a CH10, they have less district levels, less ruins, and less buildings in their districts. That means no matter what, even if you two-shot all of their bases, you're getting less gold per attack, which is going to hurt you when it comes to trophies. So I understand why that can be extremely frustrating. Even if you attack perfectly, do everything right, there is an element of RNG and stuff outside of your control that can ruin you and basically determine whether or not you rise in the leaderboard for that specific week. But I don't think that there's ever going to be a fix to that. I mean, RNG and randomness always is going to exist in matchmaking to some extent. It happens in War with the mismatches, it happens in Legends League, it happens in the builder base as well. There is going to be RNG and randomness in the matchmaking, so I don't have too much of a problem with that. But my main complaint is that the highest density of clans will always be at 1600 upgrades. So every week, more clans reach 1600 upgrades than clans that max out their clan capital and reach 3000. So everyone will just be matching the majority 1600 upgrade rush clans with their maxed offense till the end of time. And I don't think that Supercell will ever be able to balance that over the long term. So I think that is something that absolutely needs to be fixed, because if they're not going to be able to balance level 5 troops versus level 2 spear throwers. It's just not going to happen, and especially right now it's super bad because Graveyard exists and it absolutely kills 1600 upgrade clans. If you have maxed Graveyard versus 1600 upgrades, let me tell you, you can have your infant crawling on your tablet, dropping your Graveyard spell, dropping your rams, dropping your hog raiders, and you will still two-shot the base. At least if they didn't hit the surrender button early. Defending against Graveyard at that level is a pipe dream, even though I will say that the balance is not as bad as it is with most other attacks. Some clans have proposed matchmaking by trophies when you reach Legends League, and I think that is a good idea, but Supercell would really need to give max offense a boost, because right now, even though all the Legends League clans are mostly highly upgraded, if they start facing each other, oh boy, is it going to be bad, because two-shotting at max level is super incredibly difficult in the clan capital, probably as hard as the old Town Hall 10 was, and I don't use that lightly. I played during that time. I am an OG when it comes to Clash of Clans, and boy, I don't think Clash of Clans will ever, at least the home village, will ever reach that level of difficulty, but Clan Capital is really close to that when it comes to max offense versus max defense. It is really difficult, even with Graveyard Spell right now, but without it, if they end up nerfing it and then pit max clans against each other, I mean, that's what happened before, and they absolutely hated it, so they will have to find a solution that helps everyone. The old system worked better for lower level clans when clans match each other within 50 upgrades, but they'll probably have to work out a new system because there's a lot of clans that hate this one right now. For this last section, I want to spitball a bunch of more minor problems I feel are not as pressing for the health of the game mode, but could be addressed to improve the clan capital experience. So the first one is trophy pushing in general. You have to do all 300 hits every raid weekend and never take a break, because part of the trophy algorithm is getting more total gold, and that depends on the amount of attacks a clan uses. So leaving attacks on the table will hurt your clan a lot, and it's much harder for clans to gain trophies than it is for them to lose. And it's taken around 6 months for the top clans to settle where they belong at around 5,500-ish, while they lose more than 1,000 trophies in a single weekend when they ever decide to skip. That is absolutely miserable. Now, here's the thing. part of that was self-inflicted. Alright boys, let's take some accountability here. We were the ones who chose to have 3 people clans playing 50 accounts, so obviously there's gonna be some people who get really burnt out. And there are some real crazy mofos out here doing one-man clans with 300 hits, one-man 50 account clans out here, and I don't think Supercell was ever expecting how fanatical some people were gonna be with the clan capital. They were expecting like 50 unique players with 6 hits each, and that is honestly not that bad at all. But that is not what the leaderboard looks like. I would be remiss if there are any clans in like the top 10 with more than 5 unique players. I swear all of the top 10 is just a bunch of people with a bunch of alts. So that's why people are getting really burnt out, especially when all you have to do is use Graveyard like 300 times over every single week. Yeah, that's pretty bad. But I do think that 300 hits is a little too much anyways, because there are clans without 50 players and not everyone has alt accounts, so those clans just cannot compete for the trophy leaderboard in the clan capital at all, just because they don't have enough to fill out every single slot of their 50 accounts every single week. So that is a little too much in my opinion. I do think that they should change it to around, I don't know, 240 attacks, so like 40 players to attack each raid weekend, and that'll be more manageable, not just for those crazy one-man shows, but also for the clans that are a little bit smaller and just cannot do the 50 attackers every single raid weekend. So I think that would be a good change, but I don't think that clans should be allowed to take like full breaks, like do 0 attacks in a raid weekend and maintain their trophies like that. Then there would be clans that were able to sit at 5,500 trophies and never do an attack again and just never be able to be dethroned. I do think there should be some penalty if you want to skip entirely, but I do think 300 attacks is probably too much for most clans to do, and so yeah. But also, I want to talk about the defense in the clan capital. Defense in the clan capital just does not matter at all, except for raid medal calculations, and even then, that only takes into account your highest defense score. So even then, your base layout doesn't really matter. It's just about who is the worst clan that attacks you, and that's how many defensive medals you'll get. But for trophies, it doesn't matter at all past 1600 upgrades. So when you're in that upper matchmaking pool, your defense actually does not matter at all to your trophies, and I've noticed that just no one really cares about their defense. They all just run like default layouts, or they move 1 or 2 buildings around, because it really doesn't hurt them at all when they don't, you know, try to redesign their layouts and do anything special with their bases. And so I don't think clans should be able to reach Legends League, say, or the top 10 and just run default layouts, because I'm pretty sure that is possible right now with how things are. Defense needs to matter more. It's literally half the game mode. There's offense, there's defense, and defense just doesn't matter at all, and that just makes the clan capital less interesting in general. So I don't know how they'll fix that, but I do think it does need to matter in the long term. And screw this base. I can't believe I can't believe that this one little stinking town hall, district hall beam is gonna wipe the rest of my Larrys out. But yeah, those are all my thoughts on the clan capital, at least for now. There's probably a bunch of stuff I missed. Oh yeah, also like the updates, they never tell us what's going on. They never like put stuff in the patch notes. I didn't know that they were gonna add 3 bonus gold per troop you get left alive after the update, until they left it in the patch notes, or actually when I did my hit and realized I got way too much bonus gold for the amount of troops I had left. So I hope they're also more transparent about what they're going to do in terms of changes to the clan capital. They do a lot of things hidden, like with matchmaking and stuff like that, that I hope that they share in the future. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Do let me know down below in the comments what you guys think of the clan capital right now. Maybe it's just me who's really burnt out, and there's a ton of people beyond where my eyes can see who really enjoy the state of CC right now. But on a lighter note, I've been doing something I've always wanted to do, which is working on a comic/manga series. I've posted a small little preview online that I'll link down below in the description, as well as putting a page on the screen, so check it out if you're interested. It's my first time trying to do something like this, so I'm still learning the ropes. It's read from right to left, which might be a little bit confusing, but I hope you guys can still enjoy it. Oh, and one more thing, even though I've been posting a lot less because I've just been playing a lot less, Khela has still been working really hard on the Discord server, adding new features, new events. There's actually going to be a new quest hunt event on our Discord server soon, so make sure you join up if you haven't already. It's still the best place to go if you want to get better at the clan capital. But like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video, and take care.